Welcome to the family with
Hackmaster, Ralph W. Basham, MD.
Alex Brant Bernard Rasmussen.
Andy Brant Bernard.
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
See, now we're talking.
Ew.
So what's happening?
There's so many things. It's unbelievable.
Jeez, lots of things going on in the world.
Can't wait for the
guess-
Beatles movie.
Oh, there's a Beatles movie?
Oh, you were just talking about that on the coming. How'd you like that argument? They had no interest in the Beatles whatsoever, which I do not understand, because when I was a little boy, I was very interested in the Glenn Millers of the world, people like that. That was long before I was born, but to this day, I love that music. But that hasn't crossed over so much. They just don't care for the Beatles. And I don't really understand that. They changed music forever.
I think a big part of it is due to lack of radio. Most people are going to hear songs that are older through radio because the radio
Yeah.
stations will play them because they have the rights to them.
Right.
So, if you were to tune into some, just random whatever station, Jack FM kind of thing, you're going to hear stuff from the 60s up until probably, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But people don't listen to radio anymore. They go through Spotify or whatever, iTunes.
Yeah.
So they specifically seek out things, and what they seek out is going to be new because new is cool.
Right.
So they don't hear the old stuff, therefore they don't know the old stuff.
But that's too bad because, they weren't playing Glenn Miller and those kind of people on the radio when I was a kid.
They probably were. You just didn't notice. You didn't notice. It was just part of your life.
My mother loved Glenn Miller, so that might have something to do with it.
Or she was playing the 78 for you.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Was Glenn Miller even on a 78?
Probably.
It's probably on an Edison cylinder.
We know.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
That's exactly right.
that's ridiculous.
Fun
I
always. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Fun. When I cook a lot, when I cook, I play this playlist on Alexa called Cold Weather Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always like, "Why do you listen to cold weather jazz?" And it's just like,
Because the weather is cold.
well, I play it in the summer too. I just play it all. I either play
Oh.
Edith Piaf or Louis Armstrong or cold weather jazz playlist when I cook. And I'm like, it's just good, easy cooking music, and it's nice, calming, end of the day kind of. And so she's aware of all sorts of things that I'm sure none of her friends have any idea about
Because she listens to it while you're listening to it.
because I play it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that not Tevin, not AJ, and not Kristen Burt, none of them liked the Beatles. How is that even possible? They changed music forever.
Well,
Right.
well, I was never a big fan of the Beatles. I was a fan of other groups.
Right.
I was a fan of the Rolling Stones. I was a fan of Motown. And that was the
Motown,
music that
huge.
stimulated me. And the
Yep.
Beatles originally were, stimulated me. But then once they went and saw the Maharishi,
That
got
changed
into-
it.
That's,
Yep.
That then it was so you're like everybody else now. Now everything is all the colors and the flowing colors because you've seen the light or something. It just didn't do anything for me.
I understand that take on it.
The John Lennon age.
The John
Yeah.
Lennon age pretty much. But
So
then
what you're
again-
saying, Ralph, is you're a square.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying that you're not hip.
Well, let me ask you
You're the square.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question like I did the morning show. If the Beatles didn't really have much of an impact anymore, why was John Lennon murdered? Because he was such an influence, the guy murdered him. That's a very important thing to look at. The Beatles got so big, one of them were murdered. That you got to be huge to get in that group. I'll tell you that, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course, that goes without saying is that they were incredibly influential and did change things so much. But and they were hugely popular at the time, of course. But there were people who were not stimulated by that music, and that's what I find so
Yeah,
interesting is that
yeah.
your brain is stimulated by certain music, and I wish I could understand that more. And I've searched on the internet to try to understand why certain series of tones will stimulate some part of your brain. And say, oh man, I feel good because I'm listening to that music, and and other music, it doesn't do a thing for me. Yet that other music that doesn't stimulate me does exactly the same thing to someone else.
It's true.
Bizarre thing.
But I didn't grow up in Italy as long before my time when the music really hit its groove. But Catherine and I have been big fans of opera. I listen to opera in my car all the time still. I didn't grow up around it. I didn't grow up in it. But when someone has that much talent, like Pavarotti, how are you going to ignore that? The man was incredibly talented.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just unbelievable talent, voice talent beyond belief. I mean, he had, and he loved the scarves and he sweat a lot. Aside from, but
He did.
he did,
He did.
and I don't know if he threw them into the crowd like Elvis did, because Elvis sweat a lot too, particularly when he was in his later years, when he was using the drugs heavy.
When he's detoxing every moment.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's
There you go.
Withdrawing from one thing and becoming addicted to another at the same time.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not criticizing anyone for the music they like. You like what you like. I understand that absolutely. But to not want to listen to other music, I've listened to all kinds of music. There's some of it I really like. Sorry, when I was a little boy, I was probably about 7, maybe 6 years old. There was a song by Kiyo Sakamoto called Sukiyaki. Mm-hmm. I loved it. Had nothing to do with me or my generation. I thought it was phenomenal.
Well, most of music is a cultural thing. I mean, you
Absolutely.
were running
Yep.
around in a feather boa because of Jimi Hendrix.
Yep. You like
What-
what you
what's
grew
that
up
point?
with.
I mean, I'm just saying. You were
Okay.
very influenced by Jimi Hendrix.
I was, absolutely.
And I know a lot of people that say, they grew up during, Prince's heyday, and that Prince's music saved their lives
Oh, yeah, Prince is
because
very
of all
talented.
the stuff that was going on in their home and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of it is cultural.
Yeah.
And it is interesting now with Spotify and carrying around your cell
Yeah,
phone and being
yep.
able to be connected to music all the time, how many people are always listening to music.
Yep.
Oh, they are.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't, I don't know if they ever hear the real world. They're always in their own little music world.
Well, the thing what I would, as we turn, move on here, all the rest of it, I would not ignore. I know it's not your generation. It's not even my generation, a lot of it. But I listen to it just to hear what's the influence. How did this happen? That's the part of music that I like. Why would you write that lyric? What caused that? What was going on on the earth at that time? I look at all things when I listen to music like that. Maybe that's why I like several generations of music.
Well, I think that's why you dislike rap.
And I don't like rap because it's not really music.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's just that. I think you dislike it. And I mean, obviously, I'm not speaking for you, but I think one of the reasons why you dislike it is because it's become a money monster.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. It's
yeah.
all about money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I once I was watching some YouTube channel ages ago, and I heard a good summary of the rap culture, and that is that in most entertainment avenues, selling out is considered a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But the idea about getting into rap in the first place is so you can sell out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it is true. It's like, here comes the corporate people. They want to give me $50 million to put my name on some sneakers. Done. I've won.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
And
was.
it makes sense.
We watched that movie. What was the movie? The movie about the writer, the black writer, and the publishing.
Oh, American
American Fiction.
American Fiction.
American Fiction.
Great movie.
That's what it
Great
talks
movie.
about. It's like
Yep.
we're writing books, and it's like all of it's focused on poverty and slavery and all that kind of stuff because that is what is selling.
Yep, exactly.
That's what publishers want.
Well, it's
Right.
not like selling out is really even. I mean, the concept of selling out doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because it's like, you take a group like the Beatles. People wouldn't ever say they sold out, but they still made millions upon millions upon millions of dollars.
They did, yeah.
Mostly from a record company, gigantic corporate record company.
Right.
Capitol Records, where your dad worked.
Exactly. So it's like, how is that really any different than any other form of selling out?
No, you're
We're
right.
still making
You're
more
right.
money than any of us will see in 100 lifetimes, and yet they're considered pure somehow. It's very strange.
Well,
And I-
because they invented so many things, I guess.
I'd like to be very specific, too. I'm not criticizing you for liking rap. I don't like rap music because you don't hear people like Anita Baker anymore because it's all taken up by that. R&B was some of the greatest music ever, and it's very hard to find R&B now
Yeah.
on the radio dial.
There's a few people trying to do it.
Some are.
Yeah.
So look, I'm not criticizing. You like what you like. Good for you. It's just not my deal. That's, and people don't understand that. If it's not your deal, that means you're criticizing me. It's like, no, I'm not criticizing you. You like what you like. I like what I like. I just don't understand. And the chicken tastes like wood. That's a great lyric right there.
Unless it's Gabber. If you like Gabber, something's wrong with you.
What is Gabber? I didn't even know that.
It's a very short-lived phenomenon, EDM kind of thing. It's really difficult to describe.
EDM, honey.
Yes, EDM, electronic dance music.
Ah.
It used to be
EDM,
called
baby.
techno, and now they call it
Techno, yeah, that's right,
EDM.
techno.
Yeah, I know
Yep.
techno.
For some reason, they had to, because techno is a subgenre of EDM now.
So, but that's, I think, and we talked about this to kick off the show this morning. I got up this morning and I watched some CNN and I watched some Fox News, and I just cannot watch it anymore because they're both disgusting. They're both just lying through their teeth to make money. And we talked a great deal about that, what there is to listen to, what to watch. That doesn't mean, because I'm looking for something new and I don't like what's out there, that if you do like it, you're wrong. You got your life and I got my life. It's not about I have to be right and you have to be wrong. That's not it at all. It's like, you like what you like, I like what I like, and we really shouldn't even discuss it because there's just no reason to broach the subject. You like what you like and I like what I like. That's good, right?
It should be that way. I mean,
Should be, yeah.
live and let live is a really good way to be.
We had a brief conversation this morning. Kristen Burt and I have been talking about the last couple of days that as of 1858, Minnesota made slavery illegal. But there were still slaves in the state. They weren't called slaves at that point. Indentured servitude was another way to put it. But to this day, slavery still goes on because a pimp is nothing more than a slave owner, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't too long ago. There was some big chicken factory that
Yeah.
that had kids living, I don't even know, 15 in a trailer house with, I mean, deplorable living situation, and they were slaves.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So Alex and Ralph just left. Where did they go?
Are
I don't know.
Ralph,
Maybe-
you're gone too?
Maybe there was a fire drill.
Maybe that's what
Yeah,
it was.
that's weird.
It's all of a sudden both bailed out.
Are we talking to ourselves? Are we on?
No, here she
There
comes.
she
She's
is.
coming back.
Up under our belt.
Oh,
Oh, there
she
you go.
had Ralph's mic off this
Yeah,
whole time.
Ralph's- Oh, you trying to
Oh,
fix
she's
fix
dealing
Ralph's
with his computer.
camera?
So
There we go. Well, while she's doing that, Ralph,
Yes,
Joe would
sir.
like to know if you're going to see Dune 2.
you know,
You know,
I read the book. I read the book and I watched the original movie, and I thought it was great, particularly the music by Toto. And this new one, I don't know, the casting of Paul Atreides. I don't know. He's so milquetoast, wormy, creepy. I don't know. I'll see it, but I'm not all over it. My son-in-law absolutely loves it. Can't see it enough. But it's fine. Let's see how they portray the worms. They really haven't shown the worms on the first one as much, and that's a big part of the whole story.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah. So, yeah, I will see.
Ralph, I have a doctor-y question.
doctory.
Okay,
There you
so
go.
I constantly get Lifeline screening stuff in
what?
my email. Probably because I've talked about my sister's stroke.
Possibly.
Is this something that is a useful screening tool, or is it just
Lifeline screening.
It
Yeah.
looks like it's screening for strokes, it seems.
you haven't heard of this? You haven't
no.
gotten
If you're
any of this stuff?
getting multiple approaches for this, I don't know. I don't know that it's.
It depends on your risk factors, of course, of which
Well, I
you
think
have
I think
basically none.
About us, Lifeline's
As long as you're going to have regular checkups with your internist, trust your internist as to what their recommendations are.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the main thing. Because if it's mainstream and really does work, then your internist, your family doctor, is going to be able to provide that care. Stuff that's over the internet, no, it goes to junk.
It probably isn't going to hurt you, but I mean,
Well, it's not going to hurt you, but it may not help you either.
right. The average person doesn't really need stroke screening unless they have at least one risk factor, like a major risk factor, and you don't have any. So
That you have the
Do I,
thing about
since
it,
my sister had a
false
stroke?
false positive information is good. False negative is just as damaging and can be worse. So if it says, "Oh, you don't have a worry about this. We've done your testing, and you don't have to worry about stroke." Well, if it's a false positive, a false negative, yeah, that's a problem for you because they just gave you reassurance you don't have a problem with the stroke, so you don't follow up with your care. It doesn't
Okay.
make any sense.
All right.
If you have risk factors and you get a regular, you're being seen by your internist, you'll be fine.
All right, because I know a couple of my friends have done it because they were like, "Oh, that sounds like something I should do,"
Yeah, well, they
and it's relatively cheap compared to like
They're-
even
they're
a doctor. I mean, it's $159. We're going to a doctor just for a doctor's visit is what, 300,
I
400?
know it's getting
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. So I don't
But
know.
they-
Maybe that's why
wait a
people
sec,
are
wait a
doing
sec,
it.
wait. They're targeting your age group.
Yeah.
They're targeting your age group. You're getting
Sure.
the same targets from 1,000 other things like reverse mortgages. So just because you're getting emails about it and it sounds good, you don't do it.
No, that's true.
You know what's interesting about that? To this day, I'm still pissed off at Tom Selleck for getting involved in reverse mortgages.
Yeah.
Like, what are
You
you
know
doing?
what? They can be a good thing in some instances.
Oh, really?
They can be.
I don't know much about them.
It can be. It all depends on who's writing the contract and what it actually means. I mean, there are predatory lenders out there, absolutely. And unfortunately, a lot of elderly people don't have anyone to check on them and make sure that they're making good decisions that way. But in some instances, when you have a loved one that is very sick and you've got to pay medical bills and you need money and you've had your house paid off for a long, long time, it sometimes people kind of have to do it. But
Isn't a
if they
reverse-
want to stay in their own home.
Isn't a reverse mortgage basically just selling your house over time? You
Yes.
sell it to the people,
Yep.
and then they pay you monthly, but you can still
Yeah.
live in there until the contract is up.
Yes. Like I knew a farmer who many years ago, he did a reverse mortgage on his farm because he knew that his land was going to be worth a fortune. And he actually, I don't know, he came up with a number, and it was a developer, and they gave him a reverse mortgage kind of situation at the bank, so that he could live in his home for the rest of his life, and his heirs would get the money. So he was very
Right.
happy with that.
Well, the reason they target very old people with those is because very old people don't tend to live long, so they don't have to make too many payments.
Right.
Because then the old person dies, and now they have the house, and they basically never had to pay for it.
Right.
So that's what it's
Yep.
like. If you're 90 years old, I don't know, what's the point of a reverse mortgage? You're going to get like 2 payments and then
Just
die.
getting some cash, I guess.
But you should just sell the house.
A lot of people want to stay in that house. Clarence was his name. He raised his children there. His wife died there. He lived there his whole life. He built the whole place. And, he bought the farm for something like $10,000, which was a fortune when he bought it.
Yeah.
He paid it all back in about 5 years. And he lived there basically rent-free forever. And he just did not want to leave.
Well, you brought up the term predatory lending.
Yes,
There's predatory medical care.
sure is.
So like I said, I'd go to your internist. That's what I would.
That movie American Fiction was his mother needed dementia care, and where were they? It looked like they were on.
Somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, but that she was going to get into a memory care facility for $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
I was like, clearly none of these Hollywood people that wrote this thing have ever looked for dementia care because the cheapest you're getting is $10,000 a month.
God. And where does that money come from? Is that a government paid thing?
Well, I think Medicaid kicks in for some stuff.
Yeah, true.
My dad, luckily he had saved and saved and saved for his old age. So that's how he paid for it.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, he
No
could have
question.
gone into the VA. They have a limited amount of memory care, but who knows? He might have had to wait 3 years to get in.
I suppose.
The VA has a lot of facilities.
They do.
For elderly veterans, and there's one in not Santa Monica, but in Westwood, right by the freeway over there. And then I think the best one that I've ever seen is the one that's in the Napa Valley,
Oh,
just
wow.
to the west of Yountville, up above the French Laundry is a great veterans care facility. And that would be the one. If I was a veteran, I'd want to get into.
Yes, your brother's in one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Jerry?
he's veterans carry up in Minneapolis. No doubt about it. Thanks for bringing up the French Laundry, because Catherine and I went there one time years and years and years ago, and they wouldn't let me in because I was wearing shorts.
Yeah.
It's a very fancy place.
Yeah, makes
I would
sense.
never go to that place.
Oh, you wouldn't?
No, because I've heard. Well, first off, it's just so pretentious.
It is very
And
pretentious,
they
yeah.
charge a fortune for a deconstructed peanut butter and jelly sandwich for dessert.
Oh, it's one of those places.
There you go. And on top of that, I've talked to some of the people who have worked for the owner, and they said the guy is not very respectful to them, and is just a little too uppity for that. And when I hear that sort of stuff, I said, I don't need to support you.
Well, a lot of people want that. They want
Yes.
the chef to act like he's above everything, because it means, oh, he must be really good to have that kind of
Because
attitude.
he's a dink.
Yeah, that's
Well,
a lot of people. It's like Gordon Ramsay. People assume that he's the best chef in the world because he acts like a jerk, and they're like, "Oh, well, you can't act like a jerk unless you're really good and you have the skills to back that up." And I mean, Gordon Ramsay probably is a really good chef, but
Well,
it's faulty reasoning.
Yeah, but you're correct. It's faulty reasoning. But Gordon Ramsay does have 3 Michelin stars. He's, in England, he has a Michelin-starred restaurant. You got a Michelin star, and I don't know. Having eaten in those, and Catherine, you've eaten in those places. I don't know. You're sitting there and you go, is this entree really worth $85? Is this appetizer worth $85? You get it's pointless. It just gets ridiculous. In fact, interesting. There was a celebrity chef that for the Super Bowl did a $5,000 dinner around the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It's someplace. So
For how many people?
5,000. What's that?
For how many people?
That was for one person. That's what I don't know how many people. 20 people, 30 people, 100. I don't know how many people they were preparing for, but $5,000 for just one meal. I mean,
When you got billions, it's like, why not? We've watched this show called Succession. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God!
Great show.
they went to this what they called it, some sort of pop-up underground eatery where they were eating songbirds, and that you were supposed to put a towel over your head to so nobody could actually take a picture of you eating
Oh,
this.
that's actually that's a real thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
how? And it was like tons of money. And the kid that he was with was saying, "Why are we doing this?" And he says, "Because we can."
Because we can. There you go.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Is you're supposed to cover your eyes so you don't witness the innocence of the creature you're about to eat, something
What?
like that.
No,
Yeah,
mean-
it's a real thing.
Flavor. It's to capture all the aroma and flavor of the thing.
I just,
Mm-hmm.
the
But of course they
pretentious.
they might be closing their eyes. There's some just bizarre food
Yeah.
fetish. I think that turns is you're on the verge of a food fetish.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of that. I think one of the most famous one, the 1,000-year egg, I think it's called.
Oh, those are just fermented eggs. They make them.
No, there's a special one. Oh, virgin boy egg is what I'm thinking of.
Virgin what egg?
Virgin boy egg. It's an egg which is boiled in the urine of a young boy,
What?
and it's a real thing.
Oh, Jesus.
Where does this come from?
Dongyang, Zhejiang, China.
Ah.
There you go. Food
Well, the
fetish.
monkey brain thing?
Monkey brain, that's a thing too.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's just, people can really go nuts.
Well, I mean, so there's a lot of people will be like, oh, okay, the rotten shark thing in Iceland.
Yeah.
That it's gross, and I would never eat it, obviously, but
That's survival.
it's a survival food. Exactly. There's
It's
a
a
reason they
traditional-
ate that. They
Right.
ate that because they had to, because it's like, what are you going to grow on Iceland?
and
Not a whole lot.
Closer to home, lutefisk.
Yeah, exactly. Lutefisk is it's a survival
Never had
food.
it.
But things like the
Hello,
virgin boy egg, that's not a survival food.
no.
Someone had this idea because they were a weirdo and it became a thing.
Somebody probably was like, the emperor's new clothes kind of situation. Let's see what we can get
Yeah.
these hoity-toity people to eat.
Or, I mean, knowing China, especially ancient China, it was probably like, the virgin boys had a special kind of qi in their urine, and you could transfer to the egg by boiling it in it, that sort of thing.
I suppose.
There was a lot of that going on.
I have a question. How about the cowboy burger from Whole Foods? How about that?
Those are good.
How are we doing with that?
And they're not boiled in cowboy urine.
No, they are not.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Know of. Did we
I checked the
read it?
ingredients list,
Oh,
but
okay. All right.
I didn't see any urea or anything in there, so
We had them last night.
probably safe.
Phenomenal. They were absolutely terrific. No question
But the
about
cowboy
it.
burgers in Florida, Whole Foods, is different than the cowboy burgers in Minneapolis.
Yes, that's
Yeah, Minneapolis are worse
They're
for
yeah,
some,
they
or they
put
were last
other-
time we
Yeah, they
bought
put
them.
other stuff in them. It's
like
not-
onion and all that.
too much stuff.
Too much, over flavored,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah, some people must like it because they wouldn't do it if they didn't buy it. So, but the cowboy burgers are really good when they do them the original way. God,
Yep.
they're terrific. Had them last night for dinner, but yeah. So there's all kinds of different things that people eat, and you'd get invited to family. Well, first of all, growing up Catholic, you would go into the Italian homes and the French homes, and a lot of Catholics in those two people from those two countries, and it was great trying different things.
Did you ever have capybara?
What is capybara?
It's the world's largest rodent.
I've never had capybara.
Yeah, there was, I don't remember if it was Rome, but somebody during Lent decided that a capybara, which is a mammal, was a fish because it mostly lives in water.
Oh,
And that was okay to eat during Lent.
Well, there's actually a lot of those.
Oh, so
you
then
can
you
eat
can eat
beaver
manatee.
during Lent.
You can eat manatee.
Yeah, you can eat. Well, no, you can eat beaver for some reason. Beaver, armadillo, alligator. There's plenty of aquatic. Well, armadillos aren't aquatic though.
No.
Well, I think the idea is I've heard about this, and the idea is, as far as I know, it's like you can make the effort and it's good enough because Lent isn't a biblical thing. There's nowhere in the Bible that says you
Right.
have to eat fish for 40 days or whatever.
right.
Oh.
No, yeah, it's a modern-ish invention.
Did anybody ever do that really, though?
I
Just
never
eat fish
did.
for 40 days?
I've never
we
done
didn't
Lent.
when I was a kid.
I always
Wow.
grew up hearing people being like, "Oh, it's Friday. I'm going to go get some fish," and I'm like, "Why?" And they say, "Well, you can't eat
Well,
meat
now-
on Friday." And
Now you'd get lead poisoning if you ate fish for
Mercury.
Or mercury.
Mercury poisoning.
Right.
oh yeah, I don't know if you could eat any fish for 40 days.
No.
All right, I want to read something that I posted this morning because it was true. And I got some really good response to it, actually. So far, a couple of hundred people have responded to it. Every morning I wake up and try to watch the national news. CNN and Fox keep puking out their hatred of one another, making it, for me, unwatchable. Is there anywhere to turn? I've gotten several hundred responses to that. What do you guys think about that? CNN, to me, CNN and Fox, I can't watch either one of them anymore. They're just too involved. They're very, very involved in their own side of things. I've been a Democrat in my life, an ardent Democrat. I've been an ardent Republican, and I don't really care for either one of them now. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. I'm not. If you are, you're a fool. That's not what I'm saying. But for me, finding that place in the middle worked out to be really. It took me years to get there, but I kind of look at it now. It's like, where do you turn for news when you have a centrist position?
Well, I've said it before. I think some of the international sites do a very good job. So we listen to Al Jazeera, watch Al Jazeera, watch the Australian Broadcasting Corporate, ABC Australia, and then even the Japanese one is really pretty good too. One of the Japanese channels.
NHK?
And they just give you I don't know. They just give you a less U.S. centric news thing, and it's not as biased.
I mean, see, that's what I'm looking for. Not as biased. New, like I said, I grew up a Democrat. My mother was a big time Democrat. Loved JFK because he was Catholic, of course. So having a Catholic president was a very big deal when I was 8 years old. But no, I've tried both of them, and it's not that I hate the Democrats or hate the Republicans. That's not what it is. What it is just not right for me. It's not what I'm looking for. I've been searching my whole life for this since I was literally 12 years old, so it's been many, many decades of me looking for that. But is it the fact there's just so much money being CNN and Fox? They just make so much money by bashing the piss out of each other. Is that what it is? I'm just asking.
Exactly. People want to see that. They want to see
They
this
do.
hatred. They wallow in it.
But why?
I hate this other group. My God, everything that they would possibly touch is going to ruin the existence of the world and my life. And it goes on and on and on, and that's simply not true. A couple things, yeah.
Yeah,
If you're a paranoid liberal, yeah, there's some stuff you'll really screw up. And if you're a paranoid conservative, yeah, there's some stuff you'll really screw up. But there's some good stuff on both too.
There's good stuff on both. There's no question about it. As I said, I have Democratic friends. I have Republican friends. I have far left friends and far right friends. We don't talk a lot about politics, but I posted and got a lot of responses, very, very good responses. A couple of you said, yeah, you got to watch out for those smart-ass podcasters, which I thought was very funny. Thank you for that. I really appreciated that. But but they had a lot of suggestions of different. A lot of people like PBS. I don't know, is that good news or does it lean too far one way?
Yeah, I have a tendency to think it leans a little too far one way. BBC is that way too.
BBC is too. Okay.
They're not as.
They're pro-government, so what are you going to do?
Well, the thing I would mention is that I do like watching local news. I love the fact, and I brought this up several times, I love the fact that you can watch any of the Twin Cities TV channels. I don't care where you are in the United States. You can bring them up on streaming. And I really like that. I watch Channel 5 News every morning when I get up. I love that. Right?
Yeah. But they're all dying on the vine. I mean, that is.
Sure are.
So local news is not doing well anymore?
Well, I don't think so. If you start looking at their advertisers, I mean, you're getting some really inexpensive ads being produced for those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you look at, it's a bit like a mall. If you look at the shopping malls, the shopping mall stores are going from, mainstream chains to these sort of off-brand chains like Jim's Candle Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Or a hat shop or a T-shirt shop. And you can just see this sort of, they're just moving down the food chain of leaseors, on the malls. And you can see that, and there's so the same kind of a thing. The kind of people who are advertising at a much, much lower budget. And of course, the commercials are produced at a much, much lower budget too. So.
Is that because nowhere near as many people are watching any longer?
Yeah, I don't think people are watching. They don't have the same viewership. I mean, I stopped watching 30 years ago, local news, and 20 years ago, national news.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of getting there now. I've been searching my my whole life for this whole deal, and I still haven't found. I do believe that local news is a lot better than national news, though. Do you feel the same way?
I do, but they put up a half an hour program, and 3/4 of it is yesterday's weather, yesterday's sports. It's things that you may have heard of or know the results of already on your phone. I mean, it's just a bizarre aberration. I mean, or entertainment news. I mean, just once you eliminate entertainment news, you eliminate weather and sports, which is entertainment. It's 5 minutes.
I mean, I think
5 minutes is gold, but the rest is sort of okay. So I know I was around here yesterday. I know it was 50 degrees. Okay.
I think in a way, the news is kind of becoming the way that dialing the time was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Because it's like, why are you dialing the time? Everyone has a clock now. It's the same way. It's why are you watching the news? We can all just access it instantly at any point. We carry around these computers that have the internet. Just take it out. Now you got the news.
You just gave me a great memory just now in my head. My Uncle Augie, who was the one who was thrown off a building to his death. I loved that man. Augie was a great guy, but I will remember one time he asked me what the temperature was. And I said, I'll just call time and temperature. So I pick up the desktop phone, put the receiver to my head, I dial it up, I hear the news, and before I hang up, I go, well, thank you. And then I hung up, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He goes, why'd you say thank you? I said, well, they gave me the information I wanted, so I said thank you. He goes, it's a recording, you moron.
Because you had some manners. You should say, yay, you.
Yeah, I had some manners.
It's like on Friends
Oh, they do that too?
One of them called their answering machine, and the answering machine goes like, "You have 2 new messages," and Joey goes, "That would be the best job. You have 2 new messages." Like, that's your job. You just tell people how many messages
they have. God, I love talking about this from all these different perspectives because look at how much the world has changed in the past
It sure
50
has.
years. My God, it's completely different.
Well, it's like most people under the age of 20 probably have never called an answering machine.
No.
Maybe
I'm sure that's
even
true.
25?
Yeah.
Maybe even older than that.
There's a lot of people under the age of 25 that have never gone to the post office.
Oh, God, never. You're right.
Well, to return Amazon packages.
No, let's go to UPS.
That's
Yeah.
UPS. Yeah, that's true.
You go to Whole Foods for that.
Yeah, or that.
Sure.
Go to Whole Foods for what?
Return
Return
Amazon
Amazon.
packages.
Yeah, they have Amazon
that's
return
right. That's
bin things.
That's where I go.
Have any of you used that pay with your palm thing?
No.
No, I'm
No.
never giving them that.
No?
No.
Well,
Palm
like-
information?
Wait a second. Wait a second. I'm never giving him my palm.
Your palm?
Yeah,
Your
yet,
tablet.
without your permission, facial recognition was rolled out on
I
Delta
know.
Airlines.
Yeah.
No one asked
Yep.
me.
It cost
No
them.
one asked me.
They already have your palm, Mom.
They got everything. They got your palm. They got your
don't care.
face.
I'm not
So
signing up for it.
And worse still, they have your genetics.
Ooh.
So
everything.
They can have 'em.
So if once they get 20% or 25% of the population genetics to 23andMe, no, not 23andMe. That's different. That's like Grinder. I'm thinking of what are some of the
No, 23andMe is.
no.
He's like
Ancestry?
Is that the ancestor? 23andMe is the ancestor. I thought it was a dating site.
No.
No, 23andMe is it's just you send them a saliva sample and
Okay, well, that's
they
my-
sequence your
Genetic
genes.
testing.
Or ancestry.com. They are their value is in this database of genetics. Because life. So what happens once they get 25-30% of the population registered, they can infer the genetics from the rest to the rest. So once you know the relationship of people, if you know Jim's, Jim's mom, well, Jim's daughter, you can infer her genetics from that, and then
Largely.
Knowing that, then you can you incorporate that into the actuary calculations for life insurance and health insurance.
I don't know. I think if the deep state wants my genetic info, they can just bribe a surgeon or something. It's going to happen.
They'll just throw you on the ground and take a
there's the-
swab if they really want it.
The colon rectal one. That's when you send out Cologuard. You send
Yeah,
that off.
Cologuard, yeah.
You're sending off. You are giving up your genetic code. So it's even worse. So any personal individual identifying pieces that you have are gone. You
Yeah,
don't
everyone's DNA is going to be on file in 10, 15 years, no matter what you do.
might be already.
Might
Probably
be
is
already.
already,
They can get it, and I know. I don't think it's worth fighting at this point because it's just like, what can you do?
Lindsay and I we fought the facial recognition for the iPhone. Oh my God, we can't do this because we're being invaded and blah 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 blah.
Right.
And then we walk up to Delta and there it is.
Yep.
We got on the plane with this facial recognition. I said, well, that was stupid. Next phone I get's gonna have the facial thing. It makes it easier.
No, I have a question for you because this just came up. I was talking to Andy about it about a week ago. When that stuff first came out, the 23andMe, it was called something else when it first came out. I don't remember what it was. But
Well, there's Ancestry,
Ancestry,
which is a
yeah.
competing one. That's
Oh,
the
there
one
it
you
is.
did.
because when I did it years and years and years ago, it came back that I was German, Scottish, and English. Andy just did his, and you're almost all German.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like 80-something% German, I think.
So where did the Scottish and English go that they said I was?
I don't think it ever
That was
existed.
that was on the Y chromosome.
It could be.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was on the or no, it was all on
The
no,
X
It was on
chromosome.
the Y chromosome. No, it was on the X chromosome.
Yeah, it's an
Yes.
X-linked. Being English is an X-linked disorder.
Yeah.
That's it. So nothing changed. It's just
Well,
it
I
reads
mean-
it differently.
Yeah, Alex and I have different expressions of that ancestry. It's like, I might be 70% German and she might be 75% German. That's just
Really?
how it goes. Yeah.
Why?
It's not like a mathematical, like 50-50 kind of thing.
Well, it's
Oh,
like
it's not.
look at mixed race children. Some of them look extremely white, and some of them look extremely black. They just
Yeah.
one of them some of them get more of one than the other. It's just how.
Or they get a different expression of the same gene.
Yeah.
Yep,
Or they
exactly.
they just get a different gene.
Yep.
There's
But they got-
epigenetics, there's environmental factors, there's so many different things that go into your genetic code that we haven't even scratched the surface
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, and it's
Exactly.
like there's so many things. Like Andy, I think you're a carrier of PKU, right?
Am I?
I feel like I remember us talking about
hope
this
not.
because you were like, if this was well before Melissa, it was like if I married somebody that had the PKU gene, then our kids could end up having PKU. And I was like, I wonder if I do. And I looked and I don't.
Let's find out.
So what is PKU?
That's the thing that Brittany's,
Phenylketonuria.
Yeah,
that's the
sweet.
thing that Brittany's nephew has that he can't process. His body can't process most protein.
Oh,
Yeah, it's,
It's not good.
You can't process
No, it's
one
terrible.
of the. You can't process one of the amino acids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, there's like only a very specific type of protein that he can process.
Yeah.
really?
I don't know. Yeah. He like has to have these protein shakes every day to get any type of protein because he can't just eat like meat or cheese or anything.
I know that'd be so.
What does it do to them?
It makes him
builds
like
up in their-
violently ill and
Yeah,
yeah.
it builds up in their system, and it can eventually cause all
it-
sorts of
yeah.
problems.
Yeah, all sorts of mental problems when they're children, and it's just not good.
Really?
Nothing.
Yeah, I feel like I remember you telling me that you were a carrier of that, and I was like, I wonder if I am. And then I looked at mine, and it wasn't, and I was like, well, that's nice.
So Andy, you are?
I'm
pretty
trying
rare,
to
isn't it?
find out. It's very rare, yes.
Does it say
Yeah.
you got it from Catherine? Is that what
Well,
it
and
says?
it's like, and like it's like the connected earlobe thing. It's something that you can carry, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have children that have it.
Connected. You mean pixie ears?
Yep.
Sure.
Sure.
Pixie ears.
But like Dan and Fawn both have connected earlobes, and Sage and I have disconnected earlobes. And like
Really?
Fawn has Dan's blood type, Sage has my blood type.
Ah.
I still don't know which parent's blood type I have because neither of you know who has negative blood type. So
I'm
Why
A
do you know you're-
positive.
Me, I'm A.
Lindsay
Negative.
admonished me a while back for not knowing my blood type, being a physician. And she said,
Oh, really?
"You don't know your blood type?" And I said, "No." Well, didn't you check on that when you were in medical school? I said, "Yes." And she said, "But you don't know your blood type?" I said, "No." Well, that's terrible. And I said, "Why? They're not going to believe me if I go to the hospital."